miss this extraordinary opportunity. The world-famous Shenyun dancers bring classic Chinese dance to life. On stage at the Kennedy Center January 19th through the 24th. Come experience the brilliant choreography, gorgeous costumes, breathtaking backdrops, and unforgettable music. Hurry and get your tickets now at the Kennedy Center box office or at shenyunperformingarts.org.
I'm Kate.
I'm Ebong.
And I'm Sonya.
And today we're dishing with you from Wisdom, which is located at 1453 Pennsylvania Avenue Southeast.
And our guest today is Xiang. He is going to tell us a lot about the advertising campaign that you've seen all over town, publicizing the Chinese performance of Shenyun. They're at the Kennedy Center right now.
That's pretty good.
Thank you very much. I've been coached by Don. So tell us a little bit about this performance. We see this beautiful girl leaping into the air in traditional costumes. What are we going to see in this performance?
Well, what I'm going to see is a classical Chinese dancing show. And inspired by the spirit of ancient culture, the Shenyun Performing Arts brings to life the classical Chinese dance and the music in a gloriously colorful and exhilarating show. It has a program about 20 masterful choreography, dance, and songs. It will bring the celebrated past of Asia to life on stage. It is a show you cannot afford to miss.
Is this Chinese opera?
No, it is not.
Okay.
A lot of people will expect to see certain like a Chinese opera or things like they can connect that what they seen before, but this show is something you probably never seen before. You know, everything there is original. The music, the choreography, the costume, everything is music. And even for the fashion, if you love fashion, I can tell that. And even just for fashion itself, it's worth your time and money to see this show.
So how would you describe a performance, and how would you describe the whole performance? You know, how long is it? An hour and a half, 2 hours?
Yes.
And are they breaking up in segments?
Yes.
The performance is 2.5 hours with 15 minutes intermission, and mostly we have about like 20 programs. It's every program is like a 5 to 7 minutes. Most of them are classical Chinese dance. And when I say classical Chinese, you might think, oh, is that a ballet or is that acrobatic? It's not like ballet, it's not acrobatic, but you have to see it yourself. It's very difficult for me to describe.
Teaser.
It's so different.
Yeah.
It's just different. You know, if you come in with some perspective or some pre-existing thinking about what the classical Chinese dance is, you might be surprised, because a lot of people have this. You know, when the curtain opens, you're going to see a lot of jaw-dropping and wow effects there.
Is there some theme? Is there some cohesive theme? Is there something you're supposed to learn? Do we learn something about the Chinese culture from watching
You are
this?
going to learn a lot about Chinese culture, because the rich repertoire of Shenyun Performing Arts draw from the pages of history and the universal theme and the world around us. Every single dance tells you a little bit of story about China's past and the present. And it comes from the Chinese legendary. There's one, I cannot tell you what's going to be shown there, because I want to see you see there. But I just see the playbill. There's a lot of dance talk about the historical figure in China, and some fairy tales, and some ethnic dance, like a Tibetan dance and a different ethnic group dance. Superbly beautiful.
And very colorful.
Absolutely. As I said, the first time when they make debut in Kennedy Center, I had privilege to sit with in the box office, and next to me is the Kennedy board member. And during the intermission, I had a chance to talk to him. I said, "How do you like the show?" He told me that his wife is a fashion designer, and his wife said, quote, "Those costumes are out of this world. It's just like the visual is there, and it's just out of."
Is there a visual continuity throughout each of the segments? You said that each story is about 3 to 5 minutes or so, or actually 20 minutes or so. But is there a visual continuity as well as a story that continues on, or are they each separate and distinct in themselves?
Each are separate.
Okay.
So each are separate. So it will bring you back to the Chinese history in different stages. Every time the curtain opens, it's a whole new setting. So it is very rich in the visual and audio. Also, I have to say this. The orchestra, has a live orchestra. The orchestra probably is the world's only orchestra that embraces both Chinese and Western instruments. During the second half of the show, at least last time, the master of ceremony will demonstrate each individual instrument, how they sound like. And many of them are Chinese instruments. sounding very unique individually, but when we put them together, it's beautiful.
What is an example of an instrument, a Chinese instrument that we don't use in Western music?
That there's one that it's that sound that you always hear. I think that's the iconic sound
I
of
know.
Chinese opera, which is like a.
Oh, I thought that was a gong.
Yeah, it's a
Oh, I was thinking about that thing, which is like a
like a
violin.
sitar type.
Yeah, we call it Chinese violin. It has 2 strings, and we are going to have a performance dedicated for that. It's a solo play. It's so beautiful, even though it only has 2 strings, but it's so expressive. It's so great. You know Joshua Bell, the world-renowned violinist. He watched our show last February, and after the show we throw in a cast party, and I had a chance to talk to him. He said, I want to incorporate some we call it erhu. It's a Chinese violin into his violin music. It's just like that. It's even though 2 string, you cannot play the 2 sounds at the same time, not like a violin, but it's still very expressive, very expressive. It's so different. You have to experience yourself.
Well, for two strings on one instrument, how many dancers do you have on stage at one time? What's the most you have on stage?
I would say about 30 to 40.
Wow.
Well, let's talk about these dancers. How are they trained? Are they all Chinese? Do they come from all over the world, and you teach them about these Chinese dances?
Yeah, we have auditioned all over the world. But since this is a classical Chinese dance, most of Chinese are American-born Chinese, or the Chinese born or raised in overseas. We also try to get some very good Chinese dancers from China also. But it's a world audition, so they are trying to look for the talented people, and they are full-time professional dancers, and the Shenyun Performing Arts is located in New York, and most of the dancers are very young, in their teens or early 20s.
So how long does the audition process usually go for? Is it every season you go for new dancers? You keep the same dancers? They stay with the company, or?
I don't know too much about it. We are the local promoters, but I know that when they tour around the world, they have auditions. A lot of people, they see the show, they want to see, can we have a...
And you have been
have a chance
touring
there.
around the world. This is in more than 70 cities across the world.
Yes.
But you can see it in many different cities in the United States. This isn't the first time you've come to DC. Why come back to DC? Why is DC an important place for this show to be seen?
Hey, look, DC is just the political center of the United States, probably the political center of the world, and the Kennedy Center. Who can beat Kennedy Center for the artistic values? And we are very privileged to be able to perform in the Opera House Kennedy Center. We know that's the crown jewel of the Kennedy Center. And DC is I believe it's a very cultural, vibrant city, and a lot of people, we have so many people from different backgrounds. And the Shenyun Performing Arts, even though it's a traditional Chinese classical dance, but because it's a dance, there's no language barrier. People are understanding it. And as a matter of fact, we as a new Tang Dynasty television, one of our mission is to bridge the gap between East and the West, and this is our crown jewel event.
How long is it in town for?
1 week.
1 week.
Wow.
January 19 to 24.
Whoa.
7 shows.
Limited time.
Limited time. Don't miss it. It's your chance to see how the East and the West mesh together and learn all about that Chinese culture and get a little bit of culture of your own. Thanks so much for joining us here on this episode of The District Dish. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter and tell us what you think of this and what you thought of the show, the Shenyun Show, as our fan on Facebook.
Good job.